President Obama has nominated Solicitor General Elena Kagan to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Why should Elena Kagan register on your radar? Elena Kagan has been called a stealth nominee due to the fact that she's never been a judge. However, her record shows that she's an advocate for judicial activism. She favors international law over U.S. constitutional law. And during a time of war, she made the U.S. military second-class citizens by treating lawyers representing terrorists better than our own U.S. military lawyers. First, let's take a look at a few things Kagan has said. Elena Kagan has called Justice Aaron Barak her judicial hero. Justice Barak has been identified by legal commentators as one of the most activist judges, if not the most activist judge in recent history. What does being an activist judge mean? Well, simply put, judicial activism is what happens when judges change the meaning of the law. The job of the judge is to read the law and follow it, not to change it. The first duty of a judge is to exercise judicial power and to forsake the exercise of all legislative power, which is reserved exclusively to Congress. In essence, an activist judge believes that the law is relative. We can see this in the following statement by Justice Barak. The judge must sometimes depart the confines of his legal system and channel into it fundamental values not yet found in it. Channel into it? Barak also believes that, quote, a judge has a role in the legislative process, end quote, and that, quote, the judge may give a statute a new meaning, a dynamic meaning that seeks to bridge the gap between law and life's changing reality without changing the statute itself, end quote. Barak continues, quote, the statute remains as it was, but its meaning changes because the court has given it a new meaning that suits new social needs. One clear example of Kagan's views is evident by the position that she took in the Solomon Amendment case. The Solomon Amendment says that colleges do not receive federal money if they prevent the U.S. military from recruiting on their campuses. She wrote a brief to the U.S. Supreme Court and urged the court to change the meaning of the law. Now that's judicial activism. The entire Supreme Court, including all liberal members of the court, rejected her extremist argument. And now Obama wants to promote Kagan, who has no experience, to a lifetime position on our nation's highest court? While dean at Harvard, Kagan bragged about how the curriculum had not been significantly revamped in 100 years. She radically changed it, making international law a required course to graduate. What was not required? U.S. constitutional law. To replace U.S. constitutional law with international law is symbolic of a mindset that runs far afield from the basics of our American legal tradition. Perhaps one of the most revealing aspects of Kagan is her fervent opposition to the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy regarding homosexuals serving in the military. She has railed on the military, calling their policy a moral injustice of the first order. In short, Kagan elevated her own ideological commitment to gay rights above what Congress and our military leaders had determined best served the interests of our national security. But it gets even worse. Unbelievably, at a time of war, Kagan treated military recruiters worse than she treated the high-power law firms that were donating their expensive legal services to anti-American terrorists. She fought the ability of our own soldiers to access campus resources, but not those who spread the oppressive tenets of Islamic Sharia law. Ms. Kagan has significant experience as a political operative, but she lacks experience in the law, as a judge, or even as a practicing lawyer. In fact, if confirmed, she would have less real legal experience than any justice in a half a century. There are serious concerns as to whether now she could suddenly set aside the political agenda that has defined so much of her career. President Obama has nominated Kagan, and now it is up to the Senate to decide whether she should be on our Supreme Court or not. Please, take 60 seconds to call your senators immediately at 202-224-3121 and tell them to vote no on Kagan. For more information, visit judicialactiongroup.com.